Morning, everyone. Morning. I see the numbers are coming in. It's good. Welcome, everyone, back after a lot of break in April and May. So now it's flat out again at work for all of us. Yeah, thanks. My name's Jonathan Crisp. I'm one of the directors of BarnOwl. We have got quite a few BarnOwl people on this call as well. I think you guys are all muted. If you would like to post any questions in the chat as I go, you'd be welcome to. At the end, we will open the floor and for questions. But I think I'm just going to run through the basics and show you. We make a lot of changes in the versions now. A lot of enhancements coming through in BarnOwl, both on the risk side and the audit side, and very much on the web interface. So we're very excited. We've recently launched version 11.6. So just, I think I'm going to share my screen quickly and just turn my camera off. I think it'll be a bit easier. But as I say, thank you very much for joining today, and I hope you enjoy the session. So thank you. I'm going to turn my camera off, share my screen. So hopefully you can all see that. Cheryl, I'm sure you're recording, which should be good. So just the introduction. Today it's about the internal audit, we call it internal audit findings on BarnOwl Web. So it's not to be confused with, in BarnOwl, in risk management, if you're not using the audit module, you can actually, create a findings incident register with all the standard fields like impact, root cause, recommendation, management comments. That's more for people that don't have the internal audit module and that are just using the findings. We often get, especially in the public sector, people import AGSA findings or findings from external audit or other outsourced internal audit, and they just want to track the findings and they want to create action plans against those findings. So that you can do with an incident management register. But for those, we got lots of clients using both modules, the risk and the internal audit module. But today is going to be the focus is on the audit module and the way we have now created the audit findings register in BarnOwl Web with the ability for the auditee. So the auditor would raise a finding. The auditee would then need to comment, fill in management comments on that finding. And that's now basically coordinated through the BarnOwl web interface, which is a free license for the auditee to view his or her findings and to complete management comments, and then for the auditor to basically accept or wordsmith those comments for a final audit report. So in previous versions, you'd export the findings to Excel. I'm just on this particular point now over here. And you would then have to get the management comments back from the auditee, via an import of Excel, which is really not ideal and doesn't streamline the process. So I'm going to take you through the process. Essentially, this is the process here. The auditor will raise a finding and assign the auditee to the finding. So I'll just take you through that process. The auditor then can set the referred status to open for comment, which now essentially makes that finding available. It sends out an email notification, but it makes the finding available to the auditee to actually to complete management comments. So in step 3, the auditee would complete management comments. The auditor will then review the management comments in the desktop version, the normal version. Don't forget, everything's a centralized database, and you've got different windows into the system. So the auditee will use the BarnOwl web interface to view the findings, and the auditor is still working in the desktop version, but it's still the same database. The auditor will then close and finalize management comments for reporting. So the auditor says, okay, I'm happy now. I've got all the management comments from various auditees for different findings, or you can have more than one comment from different auditees on the same finding. So it's actually pretty flexible. But once the referral comments are closed, then the auditee can't make any changes. The auditor would then, wordsmith management comments. You get final audit reports out for discussion or draft, and then goes through a process. And then towards the end of the process, when findings are accepted and finalized, then the auditor would raise an action plan against the finding. Now that you guys are familiar with action plans, that now becomes a living action plan with a start date, an end date, or a due date, who's responsible, but it's linked to the finding. So the auditee who's really responsible, or management who's responsible for resolving the finding, would have access to the action plan and to track all the progress. But also in the past, in the older version, the system would attach a Word document of the finding. Actually just attach the finding. Now it's actually a link to the finding. So that's it's a lot more easier to see all the details. You can also see the audit. You can also see the samples that have failed. In terms of the tests that were done. The auditee then responds to action plans, and the auditor will eventually follow up. Might be 3 months later, 6 months later. You can do continual follow-ups on the action plans and the resolution of the finding, and then raise like a follow-up to say was this finding resolved or not. But I mean, the good thing is that the auditee or management can always see all their findings that have been raised for them on the web interface. The new global internal audit standards. I mean, we are Anastasia Mabula from the IIA is presenting on the 29th of May. We're doing an info sharing session on that. We have on our website also written a couple of articles on the new global internal audit standards, and you'll see after this session we'll just put a document up on our website as well, where the standards talk specifically to findings. There's a standard 14.3 evaluation of findings, 14.4 recommendations and action plans, standard 15.1 engagement communication. So there are a lot of standards throughout the new global internal audit standards that talk to risk and control based auditing. And as I say, there's a lot around findings and action plans. And the standards now, the new global internal audit standards, use the word must. So the CAE or the internal audit department must do this and must do that. So they do have guidelines, but there's a lot of instruction in the new standards that came into effect on the 9th of January 2025. I mean, they were out in 2024, but they have come into effect in 2025. So let me go and show you how this all works. I'm just going to go into BarnOwl. I can't see hands or anything like that. Well, there won't be hands now. We'll do that at the end. But please, as I say, please feel free to post any questions, or Cheryl, you could come in and stop me if there are any burning questions. That can't wait. So I've gone into our standard ABC database. This is the risk management module. I'm just going to take it right from the start very quickly. So you've got your processes. I've got a fixed assets process. I'm going to actually, and in the fixed assets process, I've got sub-processes, and I've got essentially an audit objective register there, and I've got a couple of risks and a couple of controls. So I'm just going to use this as an example. So I'm going to take the fixed assets. I'm going to apply it. Obviously, you would have already done this. I'm going to apply this process, and I'm going to choose basically everything that's there. And I'm just going to use ABC 04, Business Unit 1. I've created a Business Unit 1 fixed assets, and I'm just going to say next and next. So basically, I've taken the fixed assets process and sub-processes, risk controls, and applied it to this particular business unit over here. I think I did it to there. So if I now view the risk register here, I'm just going to put a favorite view on there, maybe by process, just to have a look at that. So we've now got there the risks. I'm going to very quickly just expand some of these. You would normally send out a CSA. Management are going to say everything here is effective. So I'm acting at the moment as management, or the auditee, or the person responsible for these risks and controls in this particular business unit. Auditees probably think, everything's working. They're first line of defense. I'm just going to quickly rate this risk. So we'll say assets may be misappropriate for personal use. I'm going to say it's a high impact. It's possibly likely and high impact. And if we're managing it properly, it's very unlikely that would happen. So essentially, I've rated these risks and let me just rate this control. I don't want to take too long doing this, but just to get something that looks reasonable when I get into the audit. So let's just look at that. We just do high impact. You'd normally send out a CSA, control self-assessment, or a lot of our clients use risk and control self-assessments. A very easy way on a regular basis to send out these risks and controls to the control owners to rate them. I'm going to go into internal audit now, into the internal audit module. And I'm going to go to this unit. I'll just do a unit-based audit. Obviously, you can also take a process and select all the units, or I can go to a particular unit, that business unit fixed assets 1, and I'm going to capture a project, a new project. I'm going to call this ABC 04 BU1 fixed assets 2025-05-08. Can't believe how fast the year is going. Project start dates, I'll make it run for 2 days. The period of review is almost when you're doing the sampling. We'll make that from the 1st of March to, let's say, the 30th of April, the last 2 months. I'm going to select the process, so it'll show you which processes are available. So I'm just going to select the acquisition of fixed assets just to keep it simple. We're going to do just that sub-process in this particular audit. I'm not going to, we tend to train people not to bring through the risks and controls at this time. It's better to do it when the actual project starts, but you can click on bring through all risks and controls, but it's better to use the audit content screen once you've opened the audit. I'm going to make this a risk-based. You can set up different PFOs here. We've also made some really nice changes, which I'll show you briefly in the PFO as well. And we are actually in the process of version 12 redesigning some of this to make it easier to use. You have to select processes. I'm not going to go through the whole, resources. I'm not going to go through the whole prepare a reviewer sign-off, check-off. That's also being improved on in later versions that we've got in the roadmap, but I'm not going to go through all of that now. So I've just assigned myself to this particular audit, and I'm going to open the audit now. I'm just going to expand all. I'm going to actually drag that under execution. So it's just in the order that I like it. So you'll see, just while we're here, the system comes through with template documents. One of the nice changes we've made, by the way, just before we get to what I'm going to show you on the reviews of findings, is the ability here on any audit step to create custom fields, but also to pre-populate custom fields, including attached documents. So in the setup, you could say, well, we're going to do a procurement audit or fixed assets or revenue or whatever we're going to do. And in your audit steps, if you wanted to, you could actually define a whole lot of whatever custom fields are relevant and pre-populate them with all the right information that helps the auditor when the audit starts. So that's a nice change. The pre-population of audit steps. We've always had audit steps, and it is possible to capture a finding directly against an audit step. But obviously, the concept of or the big drive, and especially with the new standards, is risk and control based auditing. So we have found in the past a lot of clients that don't always do risk and control based auditing. It's more off audit steps and things like that. So BarnOwl can cater for both approaches, but risk and control based auditing is the way to go. I'm going to go to the audit content screen. So you'll see there's the process that I selected. I'm going to keep it really simple. I'm going to select just that risk that I want to audit. And you'll see the one control, KC1, has an audit procedure, which I'm selecting. And you can kind of click and unclick that to update it. But that's also why we say sometimes use the audit content screen now, pull the risks and controls in now, because you might have created that audit as the audit manager. You might have created what I almost call the audit stub, the start date, end date, and what we're going to audit, 2-3 months ago. So the audit content screen is a good time to pull through the risks and controls, because that way you've got the latest structure, the latest risks and controls that are in risk management. All right, so I'm going to just save and close that, keep it really simple. So you'll see now if I just expand this, I just want to expand all. Just expand all. There, it's not, okay, well, normally I should probably, you'll see here that they're the three controls. There's a fixed, the audit procedure, but I'm going to go to the audit objective screen. That's where most people work. So very quickly, I'm going to just maximize that. I'm going to go to the risks and controls. I'm going to just, increase the row height a bit here, expand that. So just to keep it really simple, I'm going to go and audit, let's say I go and audit this Control 1, KC1. The audit register is authorized in accordance with the standard operating procedure. I double click on it. You'll see there's a I could just go and rate that control and give a reason, but there's a fixed asset audit procedure. I've double clicked on that. This is then, as you know, in BarnOwl, you can set up different tests. It's almost, a lot of people will use Excel and say, well, here's the sampling, here are the tests. But in BarnOwl, you can very easily create the tests. And what's really nice is all this data then is stored in the database. And you can import samples and then do all the tests. You can also, part of the new release, I think it came out in 11.4.1, which you've been asked for a long time, is the ability to create custom fields. So in the past, you would have to, if I just click on that, you would have to have set up your import sheets in advance, or what fields you're going to, could be invoice number, the date, the amount, those kind of things, depending on the kind of sampling you're doing. Now, while you're in the audit, you can actually change the structure of the import sheet. You can add custom fields and then import it. So if I just add a sample, I'm going to just really keep it simple here. You would normally have, all your yes and no's here. So I'm just going to say no, that sample, you'd import all your samples or capture your samples. I'm going to say no. I've set this up where, because I've said no, it'll create an automated finding. So this, some people will say, would make auditors lazy, but what is great about it is it comes then pre-populated with, and the auditor can, in my opinion, it doesn't make the auditor lazy at all, makes the auditor clever, because you've then got a pre-populated finding that can be changed, but everything's come through here, the standard and as the auditor now, I'm going to actually rate that finding. I'm just going to save and close it. I'm just going to finish the rest of this line. Answer. I'm going to say yes. I'm just going to go here. These are the tests on this particular audit procedure that I'm looking at the moment. So he's saying that sample passed all of these, so it's not going to raise a finding, although you can raise a manual finding. You can also, look at your, let me just save this, save that. You can also look at your sampling in a different way, where the samples are the columns and the tests are the rows. But most people work, I think, or familiar with Excel, which should work more like this. So I'm going to actually save and close this. Keep it really simple. Save and close. You'll see that control now has got, there's the audit procedure, there's the finding. Depending on how many samples you do, I've got a 75% compliance rating there, against that audit procedure, depending on the sampling. I don't know if you're familiar, but you can also go here and just look at the analysis of your, if I can get there, you can also just look at the analysis of your of all your samples and how many yeses and how many no's against all the tests, and that's quite simple to do. Save and close. I'm back where I was. I'm going to just rate this control now based on the 75% compliance, and actually say, well, that's not good enough. I'm going to say it's ineffective. But what would normally happen then is, once you've done all your control testing, you'll see this is how management have rated the risks. This is how management have rated the control. I could then say, okay, well, as the auditor, I agree with that, but the likelihood of this control, of this risk materializing, is not a 2, it's a 3. So, I'm just showing you the whole process here. So, getting back to the finding now, so I've now raised a finding as the auditor. You'll see it says closed for comment. So I now would like to send this to management. Well, before I do that, I've got to make sure there's an owner. So I'm going to actually Now, the owner would have defaulted from whoever the control owner is. That's normally how it works. You can set up a setting in Server Management Console to say the finding should default to whoever the control owner is. But in this case, I'm putting in what a person on this database called RMM. So that's the risk management, or the it's essentially the auditee. And I'm going to say okay, and maybe I'll make the owner type responsible. So this risk manager or person in management is responsible for this particular finding. Then I'm going to go to the, this bar is getting in the way here a little bit. I'm going to go here, and I'm going to actually open this for comment. So I'm going to say I now want this. I would like that owner of this finding to please complete management comments. So when I save this, save and close, you'll see it does send an email notification. On my database here, it's not set up, but it would send an email notification to the auditee to say, listen, we've raised a finding. Please, will you go and comment on it? Okay, so I'm just going to save and close here. I'm just going to get out of this project. I've unloaded it. I'm going to now go to the web interface and act as the auditee. So I'm clicking on my icon here. It's always a little bit slow when it opens up the first time. Not actually when you're on a server. I'm just on our internal server here, so it's not it's almost like IIS is a bit dormant at the moment, so it's a bit slow, the very first opening of it. So there we go. So I'm going to log in now as the RMM. So this is the auditee that is now logging in, and I'm going to sign in. And you'll see that on my landing page, it actually shows which findings have been referred to me. So you can actually see that there. It's also showing me all my action plans, and you'll see this is a dummy database, but I've got some horrifically outstanding action plans here. Another way of looking at your, you'll see there's a new button on this web interface called Audit, and it's My Findings. So you will see that there's the ABC04BU. This is a finding. I'm just going to click on referred findings. So what I had shown you there is all the findings that have been sent to me. But now I'm looking at the findings that have been referred to me for management comments, and you'll see a little red bubble there saying that a comment is required. Now I can either just click on that and go and actually say, this is my comment, as the auditee, and I can attach evidence, or you can actually open. If I want to go and say, okay, I'd like to look at more information, please, on this, you can see all the detail of the finding, and you'll see this is grayed out because I cannot, as the auditee, change this. The only field that I've been given permission to change is the management comment. So I'm going to say auditee, if I can spell it correctly, oh my goodness, auditee comment #1, for example. I can go and attach evidence if I wanted to, or I could also go and look at evidence that's been attached. Another thing you can also look at is, what's linked to this finding. Well, I can see that let me just save this quickly. Just say save. But I could go here. That's just saved my management comments. But I could go and look at what tests were done, just to on this particular finding. So you can see that this test failed. So it gives me a bit of a heads up as the auditee what the various tests were done and which samples failed. I can also go, if I need more information, I can also go and look at the control, and think, oh, I know I'm the owner on this control. So what's this control all about? You can't change anything on it. I'm just going back, but I can then decide, well, I've completed my auditee comment now. So I can click on this is complete if I've now finished this, or when I click on save and close, we just made it quite easy. You can either just save something or you can say complete and save. So what that means is that's now an indication to the auditor that I have finished my management comments. I have said what I've wanted to say. So if you have a look here now, if I go back to my findings and I click on refresh here, if I just click on that, if I just go to the home page, you'll see that, if I refreshed here, because I've set it to complete, okay, well, let me just, maybe it's the next time I log in, but you'll see now that it's showing me a green bubble there, and the date that I have actually completed my management comments. So I've now completed them. If the auditor back in the system, back in audit, goes and has a look and is carrying on with this project, would then let's just expand all here. I like seeing everything in here. I'm just going to go straight to that finding, for example. Double click on it, open it. You will see that if I look at management comments, there is the auditee comments that's been now put into the management comments. And I can also look at the owner here and I can see the date completed that he completed this comment was the 8th of May 2025. He has actually completed this. Then as the auditor, when I've got all the management comments and I'm happy, I can actually go and close this finding and say, okay, we've now got all the comments. I'm going to actually save and close this. So if you are now the auditee, I know it's getting a bit confusing because I'm acting as two people here, but if I go back here and I go back to my home page, you will see that that's because it's now closed by the auditor, it's not open for referral. So I'm logged in as the auditee. You'll see here that I've got nothing because the finding has not been closed. Sorry, the referral status has been closed. So in other words, we're no longer waiting for any management comments on the finding. The finding would only be closed in 3, 6 months, maybe 9 months time. So the referral has been, in other words, the auditor is not expecting, or you can't make any more management comments against that finding unless he opens it again. I can still see all my findings. When I say these are all the auditee's findings where I was an owner, where I'm an owner on this finding. So I could go back in here. You'll see there, but you'll see that I cannot make any changes. My management, everything's locked now on this particular finding because it's been because the referral status is closed. That's what this means. I don't think it shows it here, but you would closed for comments. There it is there. So you can't make any more comments against this particular finding. So to kind of finish it off, the auditor would then say, okay, well, I'm now going to, wordsmith maybe this. So the management comments, let's say there were some rude comments here, or a couple of swear words like, no, go away. I don't accept this. The auditor would then maybe just, change this and just say, this has been accepted and will be addressed, or something like that, just and I just wanted to show you the audit trail. So if I just save that now, and I go and I look at the history up here, you will see that that you know, the previous value. So it keeps track of what all the management comments have been in this particular finding, but you'll see the current value is this has been accepted and will be addressed. So it shows you that. The same on the web interface. If I clicked on this particular finding, for example, um, the finding I had, you can view, and you can view the history, and you can also see that, well, let's, I did make this comment as the auditee. I see what the auditors changed it to for final reporting purposes, from a wordsmithing perspective. So if we go back to audit, back into the audit, what I would then want to do is go to basically at a closeout meeting. And when we've done reporting, just to show you how easy, I mean, obviously all the various reports, but not everyone's totally aware that, within BarnOwl, you've got the ability to very quickly generate like an Excel export. I think I've clicked on the wrong one now. All the Word reports. I think I've got Word open. Maybe that's why it's. So this wasn't what I wanted to show you. But anyway, while we're there, so very easy to create standard Word reports that have all the mail merge fields, final audit reports. I think I've got Word open somewhere. Anyway, I'm going to just close it. Sorry. There, it did open there. What I did want to show you was just this execute the IA dashboard report. It's not really the right name for it, but you can create different views. So I'm going to just click on run an existing report. Well, I'll just show you how it works. Creates from existing. I say dashboard 1, next. And you can define in here which tables, which fields you want to see. Next, generate. Let's just save that to my desktop. And then you'll see it adds, you can add this report when it comes up. I can go and add it to my PFO, for example. So I can click add to PFO and I can say I want it there. But then I can just open it here. So that's an Excel export of, the project, the process, the risk, the management's ratings, audits ratings, the controls, the management's column V, management's ratings, our rating of the controls as in the auditor. This particular one, I included the audit tests, the samples, you'd see all the yes and no's there, and then the finding and any action plan. So I have not raised an action plan yet against this finding, but quite easy to then at a closeout meeting, go to actions, say capture action plan. So it defaults to the no asset register for each project selected. I say it's defaulted also the action plan owner, who's the auditee. It got that it's defaulted from the finding owner. And I'm going to say, well, this finding needs to be addressed by, let's say, the 30th of June, for example. Save and close. So now we've created something that must be done against this finding. So if I'm now the auditee and I go here and I go to my home page, you will see if I look at my action plans, this has always been here. So I can go and say, well, my action plans. And you will see that if I can find it, it's that one there. BU fixed asset 1 is the unit. No asset register. That's the finding. I mean, that's the action plan. So if I open this action plan, I would then be able to go and set, how far. Let's say I've started that. You can obviously set progress notes and things like that. But I can also go and look and have a look now. This is what's 11.6.1. Instead of this just being attached, instead of the finding just being attached to the action plan, I can actually open. I can actually open the finding. Let me just save that because I've updated it. I just want to click on that. I can go and look at all the details of the finding that are now linked to this action plan. So I can either go and I can look at, generally what people are doing is, people are looking at their action plans. This is the action plan register that you're looking at. Or at any stage now, I could also go and say, well, because action plans could have come from anywhere in the system, could come from key risk indicators, objectives, controls, anything else, not just audit. But I can also look at my findings. You'll see there, I've got all my findings. There's the one that we did. And I can open that, and I can also now, if I view that, you'll see there's the action plan that's linked to it. And I can now see that, oh, I've got to attend to this by the 30th of the 6th. That's the due date. And as I go, I can say, well, I'm now halfway. I could fill in progress notes. But if I, as you're familiar, when you go back, there are audit trails everywhere in the system. So I can go view always, I can see the history. So, and you can see that this action plan was edited. It was 0%, then 1%, which just started. Now it's gone from 1% to 50%, which is essentially halfway. Those are the action plan statuses on this particular database. Then what would happen is, in time, the auditor would close this audit project, would then monitor all the action plans. I mean, if I click on this finding now, for example, you'll see that I could then, you can get various reports out, but the auditor could easily see, the action plan is now 50%. He could also, he or she could have a look and see what the history looks like, when it was edited, what the movement of it was. And in time, when there are different ways in BarnOwl to do follow-ups. Just trying to move this out the way. Sorry, this keeps getting in the way. But you could then click on capture and do a follow-up. We are going to be changing the way some of this works as well. But you could say, you followed up now as the auditor in 2-3 months' time, and the progress was satisfactory, and follow up on asset register. On just keep it simple. And you can do this this kind of thing, preparing and reviewing. But I've now created a follow-up on that finding based on action plans, or you monitoring action plans against the findings as the auditor. So the auditor's got his action plans and can get to the findings, and the auditor can also then look at the progress of the action plans against the findings. But I think the main kind of takeout is that the management comments, it's a very simple mechanism now to be able to solicit or get management comments with an email notification. The auditee gets that, can fill in the comments. The auditor can then close the referral for comments and finalize the reporting without having to send emails out all the time to try and get management comments. So each auditee can very easily see, what, even on the landing page, it will show you that what findings are there that have been raised that you need to comment on. So I think I'm going to stop sharing now and open the floor. I'm going to put my camera back on and just go back to here and stop sharing. So I think, Cheryl, if you could open the floor. I don't know if there are questions. I see it's 9:46, so we've got time for questions. So you can put your hand up now and unmute yourself if there are any questions. I see we got a big turnout, which is wonderful. Candy, go for it.
The morning colleagues, and morning Jonathan and your team. Thanks for the presentation. I think mine, because we had several engagements, my question will be on the licensing part. If internal audit is using this module of BarnOwl, meaning they are going to have internal audit, will have then the administrator license, but they must talk to 25 stakeholders outside that must give responses. Are we supposed to then license the other 25 stakeholders, or you only license the internal audit administrator and the others, the how you build it? Are we licensing both the initiator of the action plan and the ones that are supposed to give comments, or it will be one license for the internal audit only? Thank you.
Thanks, Candy. That's a good question. So you would only need one license for the auditor or the administrator. The ability to respond to action plans and comment and fill in your progress is an what we call an open license. So that's a free license to the auditees or to anyone that needs to respond to an action plan. So the open license is a free license for unlimited users within your organization. And what you get with that open license is the ability to respond to an action plan that's been sent to you. So you can't create a new action plan, but you can actually respond to the action plan. You can complete risk and control self-assessments, so you can vote basically on your controls. You can't create a vote or add new risks or new controls, but me as the control owner can rate that. And you can also respond to surveys or checklists that have been sent to you. So any kind of compliance kind of checklist, that's also part of the free license. And the fourth element of the free license is you can actually fill in your key risk indicators values. So you could say, well, if this is being measured, like revenue is being measured on a monthly basis, I need to fill in what the value is. So the administrator would have set up the key risk indicators, assigned owners, and the owners can then freely access the web interface to do those tasks. Thank you, Candy. I'm going to move on to Zaleka. Thank you.
Thanks, Jonathan and team. My question, I don't know, maybe it is something that you've already mentioned, but I maybe missed somewhere in the presentation. When you have actually sent out the finding to the auditee, you as the auditor, now do you get a notification when there has then been a response or a comment from the auditee? And because the next question is, how then do we make sure that you don't miss that the auditee has commented on the finding that you have sent? Thank you.
That's a good question, and I might need to ask for some help from my team on that one. At the moment, what would happen is because you're in the audit and you're still working in the audit, you would very easily be able to see which findings. You could list all your findings in the audit and see which ones now have management comments and which ones have where the auditee has indicated that it's complete, that they are complete. But I don't think there's an email notification back to the auditor. It could be overwhelming for the auditor. Now, let's just say you've got 10 findings to 10 different auditees, and now you're going to get 10 notifications. You might just rather want to, but maybe that's an option that we do need to look at. But you might just want to open your audit project, have a look at the findings, and you can very easily see which auditees haven't completed their comments yet. But I don't think there's an email notification. But we can get back to you after this, Zaleka. Hopefully that explains it. But yeah, it would be quite easy in the audit to see what, and the auditor can also, go into the web interface as well. So I could just quickly show you that. So just very quickly go here. You could quite easily go. Sorry, I don't want to hold this up too much here. I'm just going to get out of here. I'm going to go back in and log in as the auditor now. It's just another way of looking at all your findings across all your projects, but you can do that within the desktop version as well. So it's taking a little bit of time. Maybe I should, here we go. So I'm going to just log in.
While you're logging in, Jonathan, let me just add to it. So on the desktop app in the internal audit module, when you view your findings register, there is a column there that shows you how many owners, what the total owner count is, and how many of those have submitted. So you are able to see that, there's been 2 out of 5 submissions, 4 out of 5 submissions, etc. So that will sort of allow you to see how they are progressing, but there is no email that is automatically sent over to, to the auditor that, they have submitted, because again, imagine if you have 5 owners, then you get 5 emails every time they complete the finding.
Okay. So you can either look at your findings here in the project, Ali, or
in the project, yeah. If you go into the audit project,
open that audit project. I think that was the one. View the findings register, hey?
That's correct, yeah.
And then if I just move this out the way, I could, it'll, I think there it is there, referred, and you could create favorite views. So I could drag and drop these fields, but there I would, as you'd quite easily, yeah, carry on, Ali.
So also, well, it's not in this version. In version 12, what you are able to do is if you click the plus sign next to the finding, it will show you all the owners and whether they have submitted or not as well. So there is a column there. There's the finding owner table. You would see a column there to show whether they have submitted or not.
Okay. That'll be quite easy to see, if you just here, referral status, closed for comment, referred date. Oh, I see. Yeah, per owner. Sorry, that's just that's when it was referred. So you would then expand the findings. You could probably group it by finding owner like that.
But sorry, Jonathan, you're also able to click on refer findings again, and on the refer findings button, the form that pops up. So
I see.
Top,
okay.
Refer findings.
No,
not
there, eh?
Not
okay.
There. So there's a refer findings. That's it there. So this is where you are able to see, okay, it's closed for finding right now. It's closed for comment right now, but if it were open for comment, the column to the left of the finding title, it will tell you how many have submitted versus has not. That particular column there.
Okay. Excellent.
Thanks,
Thanks.
Jonathan and colleague. Now, I'm just thinking that maybe is it a possibility to maybe have that a notification as an email notification. I'll tell you why. Because an auditor might actually be working on more than one project at a time. And and you actually have sent out notifications or findings for comments on 3 findings on the one audit and 2 findings on another audit. And because obviously we're grappling with the resource of time, then you can't then be sitting and waiting for comments, and then you start something else. So I think perhaps maybe that email notification, which you can turn on and off as the entity, then let it be your choice to do that. So that you don't then get, if you might actually feel you are overwhelmed by email notifications, but I'm just thinking that it's something that could actually be helping, so that the auditor is actually informed if then she is not working on that particular audit where he or she has actually sent information on. Thank you.
Yeah. Thanks, Aleka. Or at least a view across all the projects of the findings that aren't closed or whatever, that are waiting for management comments, something like that. But yeah, we've logged that, and Ali's on the call as well, so that's good news. We'll consider that. Thanks. Then Andrew, please go for it.
All right. Thanks, Jonathan and team. Can you hear me?
Yes. Yes.
All right. So the part of the question I already asked, it has been answered in the chat. But I was also looking at where you have multiple audits for the same department. How would that be stacked from the auditee? If he wants to respond, for example, maybe this audit was to do with credit issues, maybe this audit was to do with finance issues. So how will that be presented, like single findings, or it will be grouped to say this is based on a particular audit? If that's a way in BarnOwl and how you can group that. The other item is, does it have an escalation feature? So in the sense that the owner is not answering, can you escalate it to the next level? Thank you.
Yeah, so to answer your first question is that the findings are raised within an audit project, normally against a particular area. It could be expenditure, revenue, whatever area it is or against a particular control. So the auditee would be the owners of those controls and of that finding, and would then put the management comments against that specific finding. So I think that answers your first question. You basically, it's the finding per project, per process, essentially. The other is, yes, there is escalation. So on the action plan, so don't forget what happens is you raise a finding. The finding then gets confirmed that this is a finding. We've now got the management comments. Then at a closeout meeting with management, you raise a finding and say, look, we would like this finding fixed by Jonathan by the end of August 2025. That's the due date. And after that, we're going to do a follow-up audit. So I'm now the auditee, Jonathan, and I've got an action plan, and I'm not doing my work. And you can actually set it to say, well, we're going to actually escalate this action plan to Ali, who's my boss. If it's not complete, or if it's not 80%, and we're now sitting at the end of August, for example. So yes, there's escalation. and we can show you. I mean, I think after this presentation, if there are any questions, don't forget we've got support at barnowl.co.za, and we've got our help desk that can help you. Okay, please go for it, Viano. I'm hoping I'm pronouncing your name correctly. Sorry. Viano.
It's Vino. Good morning, Jonathan. How are you?
All right, and you? Good,
I'm
thanks.
good. Mine is a quick one. I just wanted to find out for the auditees, do you guys also providing training for the auditees, because they need to be oriented also in terms of how to navigate and use the BarnOwls? If that's the case, at what cost is that, and how and who should we maybe one need to contact?
Okay, yes, we do what we call BarnOwl Web or the BarnOwl Open License Training. Which I can't see now which company you're from. Where are you from? Sorry?
MVA.
Okay,
MVA, and I'm sitting in Namibia.
Okay, no, that's great. I think I'm not sure who looks after MVA from our side. I don't know if it's Lizelle, is it Jade or Jade H or Lizelle? But you've got an account manager. But if you could just send to support@barnowl.co.za a request, and we can then give you a quote on training for like refresher training or and the open license training.
Yes, okay.
Yeah, thanks for that. Yeah, but you do have an account manager. I just can't remember who looks after MVA. So, but please send to always everything support@barnowl.co.za, and we'll get back to you really quickly. Go for it, Candy.
Wonderful.
Okay.
Thanks. Thank you.
Thanks, and thanks for the responses you gave. I just want to re-emphasize that the notification when the auditees have responded is critical for the auditors, because the responses are time bound. So I must be able to know whether the person responded within the time frame that was given to them, or they responded outside the time frame. That one, I think BarnOwl need to look at it. The issue of escalation as well, I think, is critical. But my question is on, my apologies, on shared auditing. Shared auditing meaning I'm one department, but I'm auditing 10 other departments as a shared service for a province. For instance, take South Africa, you have a province, Limpopo, with the 16 institutions, but there is a one shared service, shared audit team that must go to all the 16 institutions and audit them. And each institution must have their own action plan. At the end of the day, I need to have a report that I can say, now I want to compare institution 1, 2, and 3 and see how they are all working on their audit and all that. Does BarnOwl currently have something like that, where I'm able to have different institutions, but also gives me a report that I can extract a comparison between my institution to see which one is doing better, which findings are actually the same across all the institutions, so that I'm able to know how to support them. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Candy. Yes, I mean, we've got obviously all those action plans and findings are tracked in the system by department or by business unit. So we've got, I don't know if you've looked at the key at the Power BI internal audit. I'll send some links after this, but the Power BI findings allows you to look at all the findings and how they were rated across all your different departments and processes. And then in action plans, there's also an action plan dashboard that's, I think at the moment shows by user, but we can very easily just make a very small change to that to show action plans by business unit. You know, don't forget you've got almost action plans and you've also got the findings. But within BarnOwl itself as well, if you just do like a flat, like the global action plan register, you can see all your action plans per business unit. We can give you a hand with how best to view that, Candy, but definitely that information is in the system, and there are existing reports, but we could also tweak some reports for you. Thanks. I'm going to battle to say your name. I'm really sorry, but I'm going to say Mickey because that's easy.
Okay, no, that's fine. I understand the struggle.
Sorry. Please
Okay.
go for it. Yeah, thanks.
Yeah, I just wanted to find out if, like for us, some of our institutions that are still new to the BarnOwl and trying to build up our databases. Of course, for our historic projects, audit projects that we have done, which are not in the system, is one able to capture the audit findings that we currently have outside the system into the system, even if the projects were not done in the system? So the audit findings plus the action plans, how do one go about that?
Yeah, we've actually got an import for, normally when we do a take on of a client, we import all the open findings with the action plan. So we do have an import function for that. We normally, depending on your SLA with us, we normally, bill for some of that time or we can show you how to do that. But yeah, we do have an import for existing findings. So I think if you could send to support@barnowl.co.za with your requirements and also just an indication of how many existing findings you've got, then we'll help you. We'll look at that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
So yeah, it almost creates like a project stub almost. You can either import all the findings into like a dummy project, or you can, or which is probably the best way, and then they open findings with their action plan. So it's quite not too difficult to do.
Yeah. Okay.
Sorry, if I could just jump in, because there's been a number of questions and comments around the email notifications, and I definitely heard Zoleka and Candy about the notifications. I just want to be clear that when a finding is marked as open for comment, the auditees do receive a notification requesting them to complete the comment. And I think what Candy and Zoleka has pointed out is that the auditor would like an additional notification once they've completed the comment. So I just responded in the chat to Mr. Ndlazi. When a finding is marked as open for comment, a notification is sent out. I think what we'll do is we'll log the request for notifications back to the auditor, and we'll try and come up with a use case and the process flow for that. Yeah.
Thanks, Ali. Thanks. Malarato.
Morning, Jonathan. I've got a question, but it talks to the integration. Is BarnOwl able to integrate with other systems that might be used by internal auditors like Teammate? And further to that, you've got other audits and like regulatory and compliance audit from other institutions that are being undertaken in institutions where after those audits, action plans have to be drawn. Now, all those action plans coming from outside of, I can say, internal auditors who might be using BarnOwl, will you be able to integrate them into BarnOwl, or you have to keep them separate? Thanks.
I think to answer that, we often have findings that are raised that are outside the system. In other words, I know you guys are using BarnOwl for risk management. It sounds like you might be using Teammate for audit. It's obviously best to have an integrated solution, but let's just say that you have got another audit tool and you've got your findings there, you would have to put them in a particular import format, and then we can import those findings into BarnOwl with action plans so that you've got one centralized system of all your findings. So, for example, Auditor Generals often raise findings. We've got, could be, if you're not using BarnOwl's compliance module, you could have a compliance department that's raised findings. They're often sitting in different databases, but if you can get them into the right format in Excel, which we can very easily import them into BarnOwl, show you how to do that, and then you've got one centralized system. But obviously your action plans in a way then should just be all centralized in BarnOwl, because the last thing you want to do is have action plans now in 3 or 4 different systems that are all being updated independently. It would be better to pull all your findings together, import them all into BarnOwl, create action plans, and then you've got one system that's tracking the progress of those action plans. So but we could take that offline further with you if and do a bit of a process around what's best in your scenario. I hope I've answered that question.
No, thanks. Yeah, you have. Thank
you. Thanks. I'm going to battle again. Yeah, Mzuwad. I'm sorry.
Just Mzee will do. Good morning, Mr. Clips, and good morning, colleagues. Mine is a quick one, Mr. Clips. I've been utilizing BarnOwl for the past 4 years now, and I'm with Gauteng Provincial Legislature. My question is that every time I need to access BarnOwl, I need to go through IT. But I'm the custodian of the system, but I cannot just access BarnOwl at any given time that I want to access BarnOwl. I need to get access from the IT personnel. Is it a requirement?
No, not at all. That you should be able, to log in at any time, both onto the desktop version or the web interface. So I think what you could do is chat to your IT or even log a support call with us and copy your IT, and it might be some kind of I don't know, and unless it's VPN or something like that, where you're working outside of the office and IT are saying to you that you need to contact them for passwords or something like that. I'm not sure, but if you log a call with what your problems are, we can assist on the technical side, or at least liaise with your IT. But that shouldn't be the case at all. You can log in whenever you want to, especially as the custodian.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much.
Okay, good. Thanks, Mzi. Are there any other questions? Let's see. I see it's 10:15. I'm in a rush, but I think if you guys have got any questions, you could email us, support@barnowl.co.za, or put it in the chat, or we could just, I think, best to send an email. So I really appreciate, if there are no other questions, I really appreciate such a great turnout and brilliant questions and for your time this morning. And we look forward to getting you version 11.6.1, although, as Ali says, we've already made some further enhancements to version 12, and maybe we'll have that out quite soon, but we still got to do internal testing on that. You can on our website, just before you go, I just want to show you very quickly on the website. If you go to BarnOwl, there's a lot of information, by the way, on BarnOwl. I mean, there's a write-up in the Knowledge Center here on the global internal audit standards. I've done a bit of a write-up on that, or we have. There are always these guides, presentations, but in the client hub, which applies to all of us here as clients, there's you know, there's the what we've just spoken about now, the audit findings, and then very importantly, there's the what's new document. So you can always see, you know, when you log into BarnOwl, it shows you what version you're on, but you will always see the latest version of BarnOwl 11.6.1, and you guys are entitled to upgrades. I mean, a lot of the time, big organizations don't want to upgrade for every single minor version, but you can upgrade if you see something that that is functionality that you would really like. Then you know, request an upgrade. But you should definitely upgrade at least once a year, because not only are we adding a lot of functionality, but we are also you know, fix bugs and things like that. I mean, all systems have issues, so you know, behind the scenes, we enhancing the system for performance, and we also fixing little niggly things and adding new functionality. So you can always see what the latest version is, and when you logged into BarnOwl, you will see here at the bottom that what version I'm running here, 11.6.1. And the same on the web interface. I don't know if I've got the web interface open still. You will see there at the bottom 11.6.1 that I'm logged in as IDIJ Crisp, you know, what database I'm logged into. So so it's important to you know, request upgrades. So basically your IT guys can upgrade. It's a next. It's actually quite simple, but we do assist as well to upgrade our clients. So I'm going to just stop sharing if I can. I'm trying to. Sorry about this. Stop sharing. So are there any questions? Otherwise, we'll carry on with our day. But thank you very much for all your time today. Really appreciate it. And happy BarnOwling. We're here to help. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Jonathan.